truth is a lonely warrior, unmasking the forces behind global destruction. By James Perloff. Narrated by Michael Joseph. Chapter 1. 6 Wars. Pearl Harbor. We begin with one of the most tragic events in American history. On December 7, 1941, the Japanese Navy attacked the United States fleet at Pearl Harbor in Hawaii, sinking or heavily damaging 18 naval vessels, including 8 battleships, destroying 188 planes and leaving over 2,000 Americans dead. This, of course, was the event that propelled America into World War II. After the shocking news, a question plagued Americans. How could this disaster have happened to our country? Why were we caught off guard? President Franklin D. Roosevelt appointed a commission to answer this question. Called the Roberts Commission, it was headed by Owen Roberts, a Supreme Court justice friendly with Roosevelt. Also appointed, Major General Frank McCoy, a close friend of Army Chief of Staff George Marshall, Brigadier General Joseph McNarney, a member of Marshall's field staff chosen on his suggestion, and retired Rear Admiral Joseph Reeves, whom Roosevelt had given a job in Lend-Lease. Admiral William Stanley was the only member who seemed to lack close ties to the Washington establishment. The commission conducted 2 days of hearings in Washington and 19 in Hawaii. Its reports declared that Washington officials had discharged their duties in an exemplary fashion. The fault for Pearl Harbor, it concluded, lay with our commanders in Hawaii, Admiral Husband Kimmel, commander of the Pacific Fleet, and General Walter C. Short, the Army commander in Hawaii. It alleged these men had failed to take adequate defensive measures and surveillance of the waters surrounding Pearl Harbor. Kimmel and Short were relieved of their duties. The words "dereliction of duty" were emblazoned on headlines across the country. The two were inundated with hate mail and received death threats. It was claimed their neglect had caused the deaths of thousands of Americans. Some members of Congress said the pair should be shot. Kimmel and Short, however, protested the findings of the Roberts Commission, which they viewed as a kangaroo court. Roberts had run an unusual hearing. Initially, evidence was heard without being recorded, and statements not made under oath. Kimmel and Short were denied the right to ask questions, cross-examine witnesses, or have fellow officers present to serve as legal counsel. They also found that the commission's report omitted significant testimony. Members of Congress demanded that they be court-martialed, which was exactly what the two officers wanted, to resolve the issue of Pearl Harbor in a bona fide courtroom using established rules of evidence instead of Owen Roberts' personal methods. Courts-martial, however, were feared by the Roosevelt administration, which had secrets concerning Pearl Harbor it wished to conceal. Therefore, it was announced, courts-martialed would be held, but delayed until such time as the public interest and safety would permit. Roosevelt knew that if 3 years elapsed, the statute of limitations would expire, and Kimmel and Short could no longer be required to face court-martial. However, the two officers waived the statute of limitations, and in June 1944, a congressional resolution mandated the trials. That August, the Navy Court of Inquiry and Army Pearl Harbor Board convened. At these proceedings, the attorneys for Kimmel and Short presented undeniable proof that Washington had complete foreknowledge of the Pearl Harbor attack, but had withheld this information from the commanders in Hawaii. As the evidence was presented at the Navy Court of Inquiry, 2 of the admirals, including Chairman Oran Murfin, flung their pencils on the floor in outrage. The court exonerated Admiral Kimmel of all charges and laid the blame squarely on Washington. The Army Pearl Harbor Board also concluded that Washington had full foreknowledge
Sample complete. Ready to continue?